On this week's episode of Motivational Minutes, actor and advocate Bryan Terrell Clark discusses the importance of being your most authentic self and finding your own innovation.
It's so funny because what I realized is I had a friend of mine that really spoke into my life. It changed everything for me. They were like, you're an eagle, right? And I was like, what? They were like, yeah, like you feel like an eagle. And I walked home thinking to myself, how many times have I been flapping my arms around pigeons? And how many times have I been trying to be a chicken and a duck when I'm an eagle? And what's interesting about that metaphor, going back to what you said, is that an eagle flies at a certain altitude. And sometimes what we try to do is we try to bring people that are in just a different environment, a lower vibration, we try to bring them up. And that's why they're saying, I can't breathe, because they don't exist in that altitude. They're not supposed to exist in that altitude. So sometimes you got to leave people where they are so that you can soar. And then other times when you come down, you're doing a whole bunch of flapping. And that's why you're so tired, because an eagle jumps off that mountain and catches the current of the wind. All you got to do is stretch your arms out and catch the current of the wind. So you got to figure out, going back to these in between times, you got to figure out, what are you? What animal are you? If people are saying you're too much, maybe that's because that's not your flock. That's not your pack. That's not your group. Because I'm gonna tell you something, Corey. I've only spent a couple minutes with you, and you can hang with me anytime. You ain't never gonna be too much.
Yes!
You ain't never
Thank
gonna be
you.
too much. If anything, you want to be around people, and Andre Shields said this. You want to be around people whose eyes light up when they see you. You don't suck the
Right.
life out of the room. You bring life to the room. And no one in the room who has a healthy ego, no one in the room who is secure in who they are threatened by your light or threatened by your brilliance. Actually, they want you to shine even more. So that's how I feel. If we're in environments and people are like, you're too much, that just means you need to change your environment. Maybe you're an eagle trying to flop around with some chickens, and that's why they think you're too much.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, I'm just like, I know when this podcast airs, I'm just gonna like play that on loop, just so you know, like over and over and over as my mantra as I'm laying in bed going to sleep. Just gonna like, I'm an eagle. Damn it, that's why.
That's right. Go ahead and shine.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I've also been in actual academic situations, and I want people to know about this as well to be careful of. Um, Sometimes people will expect you to dim your light to accommodate the fact that they're not shining enough, right? Somewhat like what you just said. But in an office environment, in a work environment, in a past job, I found myself. There was another writer who was intimidated by me, and I was so busy trying to
Mm.
be appeasing and didn't want to ruffle feathers and didn't want to make her feel bad. I was I was dimming my own light with ideas and bright lights and not really bringing forth all that I could be. Um,
Yeah.
and she was just, it was more about her being mediocre than me being outshining anything, right? So, but once I realized that, I was like, I came here. This company hired me for the big ideas, and every time I
Mm.
don't bring them forward because I'm worried about outshining her, I'm doing myself a disservice. And so I came in after I realized that and changed everything and got promoted to management. It was my first time as a management for a major brand, managing other
Wow.
writers. And I saw the shift in that moment of when we do not allow others to make us dim ourselves to accommodate their inadequacies, we can shine. And it sounds harsh,
Yeah,
but it's the
it
reality.
does. It's also not a it's a disservice to the people that hired you, because they want you, like you said, they want you for your light, they want you for your big ideas, but also it's a disservice to that person, because I find that iron sharpens iron. And if someone is competitive, because it happens, and unfortunately sometimes we do, especially as a performer, we work with other people. um Sometimes you just got to put your blinders on and do what you need to do, and you will be surprised at how many people you end up inspiring to step up, to step up. I remember I was doing my first my first Broadway show was Motown the Musical. And God rest his soul, but there was a dynamic vocalist by the name of Maurice Murphy. And Maurice walked past somebody's dressing room one time. They were like singing their scales. And he was being funny when he said this, so don't take this too literally. But he literally yelled out, "Listen, you're either fierce or you're not. You're fierce, you're fierce or you're not." And what's funny about that is I think about Motown as a company and Motown the musical. When you're surrounded by so much unique, innovative talent, you have to rise to the occasion. You have to find your voice. And so it's not about outdoing someone else, it's about finding your voice in the mix. Diana Ross wasn't trying to sound like nobody else. Diana Ross was not trying to sound like Stevie. And Marvin Gaye was not trying to sound like the Temptations. Everybody had to find their own unique voice. And when they came together, they were like musical superheroes. They were like the Avengers of music. And so that's what we have to do. We have to learn how to stop being jealous of one another, stop trying to pull each other down. If anything, be inspired by how great that other person is, and find your own greatness and find your voice and find your innovation, you know?
Subscribe today for more inspiration on the go.